Hello, everybody. Welcome to our new GSG Talk. Let me fix my camera real quick. There we go. And our new GSG Talk, the place where we get to know our fellow streams, what's behind the streams, what do they think, what's their story. I'm joined today by two very talented streamers. We have Aaron Goldberg on our left side of the screen and Mr. OpenSet on the right side of the screen. How are you guys?
Doing wonderful today.
Cool. Glad to hear. Just the basic ground rules. Whenever I ask a question, we usually go for the fellow on the left at first and then for a fellow on the right. So the first question, the one that always opens these talks, I don't know if it makes sense to ask it to you, Aaron, but I will do it anyway. So what's the backstory of your name? I'll probably think that yours is that your mother gave it to you at...
Yeah, but I guess so. The backstory is why am I sticking with that name? I had tried other names in the past, and it always just, as much as it was fun to splinter out identities to feel like I could put certain emotions or certain sounds in one place and some in the other. As much as that was a good time, I also struggled with this feeling of being splintered and wanting to just kind of be proud of the music I make under my name and claim it as such.
Do you have another project where you had a different name?
Yeah, I had a few at least, but the one that I put the most time into was just like another producer name called Lay Some Beats. Those are some really weird, old, cringy beats to listen to now. Some of them are kind of cool, but most of them are really whack. But it was a part of my growth, yeah.
Can we find those online?
Yeah, that's on SoundCloud.
Nice. If you want to pin it or if you want to throw it to me in chat, that would be cool.
Valo can do it. He's my mod, one of my main mods.
Oh, cool. Probably if you post a link on the chat, you will be temporarily banned. And we don't want that to happen. So please write me a DM instead and I will do it. Yeah, that's causing more problems than it's solving, but whatever. How about you, OpenSet? Why are you open and why are you a set?
Well, my name comes from a type of math that I studied, topology. I used to have a different name. It used to be Monstrous Moonshine, which is something that I thought was hilarious, named math theory. But I found people were not very good at spelling the word monstrous. So I transitioned to OpenSet, shorter, easier for people to spell. And I found it to be a nice kind of like double pun. It has math meaning. It also has a meaning in music. And then the set, I consider myself to be kind of open, not really performing, not really putting up face, but pretty open for people to ask questions to whenever. I'm going to be pretty natural. That's where the name came from. It's just using a math term that also had some musical context meaning there.
Yeah, also Monstrous Moonshine can have another reading. Like you are very good at showing your butt. I don't know if you want to give that impression. And they say there is no such thing as bad publicity, but I don't know.
We do those streams on a different site.
How long have you guys been streaming?
I started streaming just basically when was the very beginning of the pandemic? Is that early 2020? I believe. Yeah.
And how did that start?
Basically, a friend of mine, I had attempted to do some live streams on Instagram because I was getting really, for the last few years, had been really bored making music by myself. Even though that's something I used to love to do, it kind of just became a way to interact with my friends. But I fell back in love with making music solo when I pulled my old looper pedal out and started a live stream on Instagram just for the sake of putting something out in the world. And I always seem to work more efficiently when I think or know that there's someone else listening, whether they're in the room or now I've discovered that you can also live stream and get that same effect. And so for me, it's become like a way to keep me accountable, keep me making music for a few hours at a time.
Nice. When you were streaming on Instagram, did you just put up your phone and
Yeah, it was really bad. I just did it with my phone, and then I eventually was looking into like an iRig or some sort of way of getting an interface into my phone, and then basically decided after a friend had suggested I try Twitch, just because it's a better live streaming platform. I decided to look into other ways of getting better sound, like using my audio interface into the computer.
yeah, it's very hard to actually live stream to Instagram with the computer. I don't know if
I
OpenSet.
bet. Oh no, I abandoned that immediately. Once I realized that Twitch was what it is, I was like, oh my god, I was doing this in the wrong place. Like Instagram's not the place for this.
How about you, OpenSet? When did you start streaming and why did you start streaming?
I started in the spring of 2019. I had been watching music streams on Twitch for about a year before that already, but hadn't really considered streaming until then. I learned about Twitch from my students, from my middle school math team that was telling me, they were obsessed with games, and they were telling me that there were also people to play music on there, and it's actually a cool thing to do. I was like, all right, sure, guys, sure. But where I live, I was always like grading papers after tutoring at like coffee shop, and it would come around midnight, and live music would stop, and I'd go home, and I was like, man, I'm a night owl. I want my music late night. I want to play my music late night because I just stay up to like 4. I'm real night owl. And that's what got me into starting to stream on Twitch then, was wanting to play my music, but late.
So you've been both streaming for a long time. Wrong screen. There we go. What things do you think improved about Twitch as a live platform, and what things do you think it got worse as of the time you started streaming, as of comparing it with today?
In my own personal experience, not much has changed. So anything that I have to say about this kind of comes from the mouths of others who more heavily use the platform. Like I don't take advantage of the ad runs, and if any ads do run on my thing, I don't know about it. I do my best to keep that from happening, but I've heard complaints about the ad system and things like that. I've definitely I've had the thought. I know this isn't an exact answer, but the point is I don't really have much to say on specifics, but I've had the thought of going over to YouTube or whatever, but my audience is here on Twitch, and this is where I started. And so until there's some catastrophic failure over here, I plan to stick with this platform. But the reason I've thought of doing something like YouTube is the ability to just immediately upload the video. I know there's ways of doing that from Twitch to YouTube. So, to me, it's kind of not much has changed. And so for me, it's about the same since I started.
Okay, I think folks use a service called Restream.io. I think there was that configuration was made here on the GSG account. We had to take it down, but I think that's a way for achieving that. How about you, OpenSet? Do you feel that there's something that has changed during this time of streaming?
Well, they changed how the categories work a whole lot. I like that we have a dedicated music category now.
Oh, that's new?
So that's definitely an improvement from the old days. The big thing that changed on the platform since I've been on the platform was, of course, when the pandemic happened and we had a large influx of people into Twitch. That was very nice, especially since it brought in a lot more science and education type people, a lot more art people. And I saw a large diversification of streams through and after the pandemic. So that was one of the upsides to everything. As far as things getting worse, the whole ad system, as Aaron mentioned, has been something that bothers me a lot. But really, with just Twitch trying to push more and more ads, that's been the only thing that I've really noticed that has gotten worse, I would say. Oh, the other thing that's definitely gotten better that I definitely appreciate is the inclusion of those animated emotes. I'm a big emote person.
What would we do without our emotes?
Exactly.
Please, everyone, show your emote love in the chat. If you have some cool emotes to share, I have a couple. Look at this one is from Eliza. Pretty cool. There we go. Dusk Crusher asks if you know Kick, which is like a platform that's trying to compete with Twitch. They copy the same layout, and the thing is, I think they give better revenue percentage to the artists. Have you guys looked into it?
I personally, just based on what I know about Kick, I would never use that platform. I don't think the money comes from a very ethical place.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, as far as I understand, it's like lots of money that comes from illegal gambling and gambling that's also probably influencing children to gamble.
Yeah.
And I'm just super not into that. And so I would never use that platform no matter how much they pay. That's just a crazy thing to do. And it's wild that that's even a discussion.
Okay, I did not
That
know
connects
that.
to something I was just getting at with you're talking about the downside of Twitch and some of the advertising stuff here is the advertising of like sports betting and gambling stuff. And then
Yeah.
Kick is run by people that run that stuff. So
I did not know
it makes
that.
me wonder, like, if I was over there, how many more ads would the people be seeing for stuff that I don't want put in people's brains?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know the basic way big companies work this kind of thing is that I don't know how you call it in English, but it's the same thing every place. They project a lot of money and they give a very cheap service. And when they get the people, they just fuck it up as the rest. It's not like if we migrate to Kick and Kick gets bigger, then things will get better. They will
No.
just
Yeah.
wait for that. But I didn't
And
know that.
that's
Sorry.
not to say that Amazon is like a shining star either, but I'm just saying it's like a yeah. That's all I'm saying. It's just, this is where I'm at though. I've started a platform here. I don't think it's definitely not a shining star of a company either, but
Yeah.
it's not as directly just awful, at least visibly as the others. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, also migrating to another platform involves a lot of work, a lot of extra work that you really have to feel motivated to do, right? It's not like
Yeah.
they're paying you to do that. Um, okay, yeah, I didn't know that either, Dax Crusher. Oh, and remember, folks, that if any of you have a question for our guest today, you can drop it in the chat. This is a group effort, as most things that we do on the GSG. I'm talking about the GSG. How did you guys came up? How did you meet the group?
Honestly, that's a really good question. I feel like it must have been Actitect. But I just being a new streamer, I was looking around finding other music streamers and found a couple synth channels, and in the chat I started seeing some names over and over again, like Actitech, or I saw Wambra a lot. Just like lots of sweet people who are still around today and that have ended up helping me see that there's like a through line throughout this thing. And I believe it was Actitech invited me to be part of Golden Shrimp Guild.
Nice. How about you, OpenSet? What's your story with the GSG Guild? GSG.
I found them before a long time before I started streaming, because I think one of the very first music streams I found was Tremendum Labs, and this was like in 2018, and then about 6 months later I found Dan Kushner, and that kind of marinated in my brain that Tremendum Labs does like crazy psychedelic looking stuff and all these weird visuals that I love, and that kind of marinated in my brain until I started streaming. And I believe my first or second raid ever came from like Dequel Live, one of the OG shrimps. So I found Tremendum and Dan Kushner before I was streaming, and then once I started streaming, the rest of them found me.
Okay. Here, Fragili says they miss Monono streams. The Monono has been named in a lot of interviews we have. Seems to be a mythological character. I don't know if you guys
Got one of his poems as a sample. I can always pull out all Monona samples sometimes.
that they read poems. I never saw a stream of
Yep.
Nice. Nice. And talking about streams, how about your streams? If you were to explain to someone, probably everyone in the audience knows who you are, but if you were to explain to someone the type of stream that you do, how would you do it?
Um, my streams are all improvised. Usually music focused, sometimes multimedia with live art happening as well, but it's usually just either focused around live looping instruments like guitar, bass, keyboard, synthesizers, whatever, or more focused on pure Eurorack, and then also blending the two. But it's really always just an improvised experience, which is why it's not really. I can't say there's nothing specific that happens besides live looping and playing with my Eurorack synths.
Yeah, that's more than I've seen other channels do. So don't don't feel ashamed about that. I've seen people people sleeping during streams. So the bar is very low, my friend.
That's hilarious.
How would you open set? How would you describe your set?
It's open, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Yes.
Usually I tell people about the only thing that's constant in there is music. I always improvise some music. Sometimes it's only barely in the background. Sometimes it's the primary focus. But when I do, I'm using my synthesizers, my RC505 as well. But usually on top of all of that, I'm using the microscope, either just looking at stuff squirming around talking about it, or actively trying to mix some weird multimedia visuals, crystals, chemicals, all sorts of strange things on there. And then generally on top of all that, I tend to be engaging with some sort of literature and discussion with the chat. So it's kind of three-pronged. Music, science, or art thing going on with the microscope, and then literature, discussion, science, poetry, something like that on top of it.
Nice. We see. Thank you for everyone that's using our suggestions and start following our guests, because that's one of the payoffs of being here. We can see that you gain a couple of followers since we gave you a shout out. Also, if there's any mods on the chat, if they want to help me with the shout outs for our guests, that would be much appreciated. You won't have you won't have a big followership. I think you are close to 5K each one of you, if not more or less that. So that's something interesting to talk about, because, as you know, the Golden Shrimp Guild is a very open community, and most of the people are small. They have a small followership, but it's always a conversation. Like, what's it like? What are the challenges, and what are the bizarre anecdotes? You probably have a bunch of those. When a lot of people get together and probably overshare or whatever. Well, what has happened to you in that sense?
What has happened to me in what sense? Can you say that again?
Just dealing with a whole bunch of people, like.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, because I thought I had an answer cooking, and then that threw me for a loop. But no, I hear you.
So no, sorry, the question was way too long.
No, it's good. I was following. Okay, so to be completely honest, I may have 5,000 followers, but the people who have 300 are having the same live viewership as me, most likely, because they're probably being more consistent than I am and have people know when they're going to go live, and they're there to watch them regularly. For me, it's so irregular that it just doesn't work for a lot of people who are looking for something that's more reliable. But the people who are there are reliable, but it's just like I have a large pool of quote unquote followers, but probably the same amount of people. So a smaller percentage of the people who are following me are actually watching my content regularly. That's my understanding.
So what you're telling us is that even though, one of the things that the platform needs is consistency if you want to gain a lot of viewers. Is that the case? Like, even if you
I think so, because I think for the most part, people take in content that's live on Twitch. There are definitely people who watch VODs, but I don't think it's the large majority. I could be wrong. I'm not honestly a heavy Twitch watcher myself. I struggle with watching live streams because I like to have control over what I'm watching, and it's bad. I'm amazed at how people can watch live streams, but so grateful that people do. But there have been rare times where I did get, let's say, a large raid, and the first couple times it was very overwhelming and made me feel like I had to change what I was doing in order to sell that channel to all these people.
Right.
And, try to make them understand what I do in just a very short moment of time before they click away. And that really just throws you off. And so the best thing to do is just keep doing what you're doing. Say hello, acknowledge everybody, which is, I think, super important. Letting people know that you see their chat messages, and it's a huge part of what people love about this platform. So I think that consistency and just frequency of streaming and acknowledging people goes a really long way in building your base. And people will come. Sometimes people come a year after they haven't been, haven't seen me for a year, and they'll just go, "Oh my God, just checking in, seeing what's up." So you build these really real connections on here, it feels like, and it's really, really sweet.
Nice answer. How are you, OpenSet? What's your experience with dealing with big crowds?
So, before I forget, one of the big things that I'll tack on there with what Aaron said is it is all about building connections. And that is one of the biggest challenges when kind of live viewership numbers move up and when you get big raids and all that, is losing the ability to read every chat message was the first one that got to me pretty badly. Because for the first long while I was streaming, usually had like an easy amount of people in there to chat with, read every single message. And obviously, during my streams, I keep my mic on and I'm talking with people the whole time. Generally, sometimes a little more focused on the music. But that's the biggest challenge for me when there's more people showing up and all that, is also, like Aaron said, is the reflex to want to kind of drop everything and, oh, hey, here's me, here's what I do, let me explain, blah, blah, blah. So I had to come up with strategies for stuff like that, especially since some of my streamer friends do frequently have lots of people in. When I say like lots, I'm like, oh no, there's 100 people suddenly raiding in, and I get very flustered. So I came up with strategies like, oh, here, let me explain what's going on. There, does that answer your question?
I think that's self-explanatory.
Now let's get back to what we're doing.
It says a lot.
A picture says more than 1,000 words, indeed.
Exactly. So tried to come up with little strategies for stuff like that. But forgot where I was going with the question here. It was about viewership and followage numbers and all that. But
yeah, just wanted to know your experience. Do you guys have any bizarre mod anecdotes to share? Bizarre modding?
I mean, just in the very, very beginning, I had a weird experience where I just realized, like, oh my God, I have to remember I'm on the internet and, realize who I'm trusting with certain powers or whatever. And this guy was chatting with me, wanting to be a mod, and then someone else who I knew was like, just so you know, this guy's like really unstable and not good to work with. And I quickly was able to stop engaging with that person. But it just a little wake up call.
Yeah, I tend to just make basically zero mods. I have an extremely small number of mods that I tell them basically you don't need to do anything, and just be there and chat, so that people will be too intimidated to act out knowing that there's someone with a sword in there. But basically, I don't really need people modding in my channel. I'm weird enough where I scare away the trolls. Right. I start to ask them math questions, and that scares them away.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it. But I thought trolls were everywhere. That's nice to hear that there are some safe spaces.
Yeah.
So you've heard it, guys. If you ever feel upset or overwhelmed, just do math streams just to clean the environment.
It just keeps the nerds with you.
We are all nerds, so yeah.
I just want to respond to one thing I saw in the chat about people being too engaged with chat. I agree that can be really distracting from the whole reason you're there. So I have tried to find a balance there, and usually kind of respond in little chunks. And then I put my head down and make music and allow myself to focus. And then I look up and respond in chunks, and rather than kind of constantly looking every 5 seconds to see if there's a new message.
Yes, yes, that's a challenge, especially for musicians, because there are two different parts of the brain. You know, I don't know if literally, but metaphorically, at least, the part where you're starting a conversation and you're using language, and the part where you're trying to get in touch with what's happening musically. Those are two sides of the coin, very different. And yes, I agree with the person that was making that statement on chat. I particularly dislike when a good musician starts chatting, because it's like anyone can chat. We want to see you do your thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless they are very funny, but people are one or the other. Very good musicians are very funny, not both. Let's discuss gear a little bit. You both are surrounded by various instruments. So maybe let's start with Aaron. Let's get a fix on him. Can you show us what's your gear and how you got it set it up for your stream?
That's a pretty good shot of it. Okay, so usually in this little hole right here is where my 505 sits. And that's kind of the brain of everything. It's a looper pedal. And it as soon as I make my first loop, it sets the BPM of the entire project, firing off all the other sequencers. So my key step will then go and send MIDI to the appropriate places and CV to my Eurorack synthesizers. So the beautiful thing is I don't have to ever think about my BPM necessarily. I just get to like record a loop, and that will give me the BPM based on the length of the loop. And so that gives me a lot of freedom in what I can do, and it's very, very important for me actually to be able to start that way. And everything is running into this. It's hard to see. 1 second. It's a Model 24 mixer. So it's a Tascam. The beautiful thing about this is it can record on an SD card inside of itself. So there's no need for a computer or a DAW or anything, and it can record 24 tracks separately. It's beautiful. I also have multiple buses or subgroups. So I have early on when working with looper and sequencer workflow, I had to figure out a way of being able to keep sequencers running while being able to still loop without also looping the sequencer. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I had to be able to keep the sequence running and not have that audio also going to the looper, while having the option to send that audio to the looper at some point if I wanted. And so subgroups became really important for me. And now every single thing you see here has the option of either going straight to the stream or stopping off at the looper first and coming to a return channel that then goes to the stream.
All
And
right.
that's basically a breakdown of my workflow in here.
We had a question from Jalina Darkrealm, the artist formerly known as Lady Jalina. She wanted to know about the RC505. We all, me included, we all use that little piece of gear. And she was asking, given that it has only 5 channels, how do you, Aaron, get to decide how to organize that?
I don't put very much thought into it. And so, yes, I do get confused sometimes about what is going to come back and what's not. But thankfully, I have a brain that's pretty good at learning really quickly and then not very good at learning. And not very good at mastering something. But so if I'm only making a track for a few minutes on a looper, I can pretty quickly remember what is what. Sometimes I get lost and confused, but it's usually not too hard. You just it just feels right. I don't know. It would be obviously very strange if you did it on someone else's machine, but with things like this, things like samplers, things like Eurorack, people look at it and they go, "How do you remember what's what?" Well, I did it, so I don't know. I don't really have to think about it. It's kind of like that. It's much less confusing than it may sound. Usually, sometimes it can get weird if you're doing a bunch of other things at once. But if you're just playing with the looper, it's pretty straightforward because you laid it out yourself and you just know where to go.
Nice. Yeah, the instinct takes over. Nice. How about you, OpenSet? Can you give us a little tour of the OpenSet itself?
Yes. My music here is pretty easy to explain here. I always begin with my first and foremost most used instrument right here, Sub 37. Sub 37 is responsible for probably 80% of what I do. This has been my first synthesizer, my most used synthesizer. Can't say enough good things about it. But I take this guy ultimately into my 505 right here, along with the other chain that I'll show. But first, this guy gets some stereo weirdness from the Mogerfoger Murph right down there, runs into an eventide space, straight into the 505. Then the other side of things is over here.
Hey.
I've got a little tiny modular rack here. I use this kind of like a palette to create sounds that I'm not capable of getting out of my Sub 37. So I have like a stereo filter in there, QPAS, that I absolutely love, some string sounds from rings, and some randomness from marbles. And contact mic is extremely important to me. I like to sample acoustic sounds and run them through the synthesizer, including sounds like a bowed saw, cigar box guitar, all sorts of other weird acoustic things to then run through the synthesis chain. And then really just last element, drum brute impact right down here. And then my little mixer just has an aux send for my other effect chain for the Mogerfoger cluster flux for a really wild chorus delay effect that I have control voltage running to that from my modular. So what I love those Mogerfogers for is being able to run control voltage out to them. I guess also hiding here, also got a theremin mounted to the top of the rack. Right up there. But really, everything just winds up running into the RC505. And once I get that going, then I just really want to play with reversing the loops, moving through them, changing everything's speed rapidly, and playing alongside what I've previously recorded.
Nice. There are a lot of loopers on the market, but I keep seeing people using the RC505. Why do you think that is? That's a question for both of you.
Yeah.
I think it's a good design. They made it really intuitive, and what you want to be available is quite readily available. The undo feature on every track is incredible. Like it's really a well-designed machine for people who want to loop things.
So for me, I have a lot of thoughts about this, and it's one of the reasons why I use it. I ultimately bought mine after I saw Aaron use his for a while, and another mutual friend, the Graceful Bard, then get hers because of seeing Aaron play his. And the me seeing both of them have their adapting process learning with it, getting so good with it so quickly, that it became an obvious choice for me, seeing how they got along with it. But the big consideration to me, and this is specific to like live streaming and live music, is I would say, as a viewer who had never used one, it was immediately obvious to me what a musician was doing when they were using this looper. You could see how long the loops were. And what I largely get out of watching streams is I'm very interested in people's creative process and how they do what they do, alongside enjoying the product. I hate to call it product, but the fruits of their labor. I had previously been doing lots of looping with Ableton and a push, and I noticed that I wasn't enjoying watching people loop with a push nearly as much as I was enjoying watching people loop with a 505, because it was more obvious to me what was going on with the 505. So that was the very big thing for me, was to just how obvious it is that I'm recording on this loop now. I'm turning it on, I'm turning it off, da-da-da-da-da. Here's my effects. And people can understand that visually when they see someone making music. And I always have teacher mindset, so I want people to understand. I want people to understand what's going on and not thinking I'm just pushing a magic button or something, that they would need to know how Ableton works first to understand what I'm doing.
I love that.
Nice. Someone pointed in the chat that it has very big buttons. I agree with that. Like
Yes.
you can go like you will be able to push it. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but uh, some gear turns me off creatively. Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing and you go like the computer, the computer has everything, but if you have to go like this when you have to play, then the juices start to flow differently. I don't know if that
Right.
happens to you.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
have
definitely.
we have a question from Bonus Creature. He asks, "How do you guys have your effects bank set up?"
Um, well, usually it's a low pass filter and then a chorus because the chorus sounds really good on this thing, and then a tape delay and a reverb in that order. And then on the track effects, that's kind of all over the place, but usually the break repeat or whatever it's step repeat. Hold on, what's it called?
Beat repeat.
Beat scatter,
Oh yeah.
and then low pass filter, transpose, and reverb.
Nice. I have the previous model. I know that got transposed. That must be a fun toy. How about you, OpenSet?
Yeah, a lot of similarities here. First input effect is almost always either low pass filter or transpose. Sometimes it's high pass filter instead. Rare occasions, lo-fi effect, because I like to add lo-fi, some drum effects on occasion. After that is always the chorus effect. Chorus effect on the 505 adds good stereo spread things. 100% always chorus right there. Third one is essentially always either reverb or panning delay or something of that nature. I don't use the reverb on that 505 very much at all, but when I do, just to add a little verb to one of the drum sounds, maybe some verb on a clap or some panning delay on it. My more important ones are the track effects. Probably the most important one for me out of the 505 is the vinyl flick. The vinyl
Oh
flick has some
yes.
very bizarre things you can do once you get a feel for where exactly these spots are for warping the speed of one loop but not others. And I get a whole lot of use out of that. Second from there is probably the beat repeat and the beat scatter. Those three are absolutely critical to the way that I make music. Can't use them all three at once. You can only use one of the three at a time. But vinyl flick, beat scatter, beat repeat, 100% of the time.
I
Nice.
don't think I've ever heard of this vinyl flick. I'm looking for it's on. This is on the 505 Mark II or Mark One.
On
Mark
both.
one.
On both.
I didn't really see its potential until I went to see another Twitch streamer friend performing live, Infinite Third, and I noticed exactly what he was doing once I saw him performing live in person. I could see where his hands were going on the 505, and it was that vinyl flick that he was extremely adept with.
That's
Yeah,
so cool.
you can do like a sort of scratching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Something
Yep.
similar. This is weird, but I have to attend something in my house, so I have to leave you guys chatting for 2 minutes. Would that be okay? I can throw a
That's fine
question.
with me. I have a serious question about what channel is that on?
Okay.
I use that one on just track effect A, and then that is vinyl flick is the very last one in the bank if I go. It's
Oh
right
my
after
God.
beat scatter.
Okay, now I see. Because, like you said, you can only use one at a time. That's so odd. They must share a processing or something. That's really weird.
I guess they do. I know there's a couple things in there, like the tape delay, that'll interrupt your ability to use other things. But
Oh my God, I can't wait to experiment with that because the other one is so. I always have beat scatter there, so I've never seen that option.
so the vinyl flick is fun because it's like you have your loop on a vinyl, and you can either flick it forwards faster, forwards slow,
Oh my
or
God.
backwards. And if you go into the effect settings on it, you see like what percent speed forward, speed backwards you're going. So you can hit these marks and leave it there rather than just moving it back and forth like you do record scratch. And I really like messing with the speed of things, and particular speed of individual loops, while other things remain at constant timing.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's fantastic. I'll like to do something like where I'll take the slicer, read a little bit of a poem sliced up, and then I'll hit that vinyl flick and slow things way down like a weird Schmungle track or something.
That's so cool.
Nice.
Thank you for showing me a new tool on here.
Absolutely. You're the one that told me about the beat scatter. I love this.
But you used the first model OpenSet?
Yes, I used the first one. I got the opportunity to use the Mark II when some friends were visiting. And I was like, oh man, this is a lot different than I thought it would be.
Why?
Yeah, the lack of the volume knob is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that doesn't exist. I've gotten used to it, but they took away the main output knob. Like,
why?
or there's like an output level, but I'm sorry, they took the microphone input knob away. That's what I meant to say.
Oh no.
Super insane.
Maybe it was clipping a lot, but I haven't noticed that.
No idea.
Didn't they also take away the light that shows when you're clipping?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Maybe those are.
I noticed.
Maybe those are related.
Interesting.
Well, we were discussing about my professional journalistic abilities, and there you go. I leave the interview in the middle of a question, so
Yeah, turn around. We're going to interview you now.
that has happened, luckily. But speaking about things that don't go the way we planned them, you both been streaming for a long time. I'm sure that there are some bloopers that you can share with us that happened to you live. So none.
I mean, there's been probably way more things than I even know that are embarrassing that I've done on camera, and I hope to never find out. But the first thing it makes me think of is just that there's been 2 times where I've almost fallen out of my chair and like knocked all my synthesizers.
But it didn't happen.
Well, I did fall out of my chair, but didn't knock over my synthesizers.
All right. That's pretty soft. I was hoping that in 4 years of streaming, something worse had happened. You're a lucky guy.
I mean, I showed my address once and then deleted the VOD immediately.
Oh,
That's pretty bad. Things will probably bubble up as I think about this more.
Can you think anything OpenSets in this regard while Aaron thinks?
I've set off my smoke alarm multiple times.
Why?
Well, sometimes I'll do like a fog and laser show. I have all these weird prisms and powerful lasers around here, and sometimes I'll pull out the lasers, do stuff like that. And if you don't barricade the door well enough and fog gets out the smoke alarm, then you have a stream of 10 minutes trying to air out the townhouse, trying to get the smoke alarm to go off. But funnier one, I think, is I like, whenever I go to the beach, I like to try to do a little quick phone beach stream, because I appreciate what other people's do. I miss the beach all the time. And what I had done is I just made a gigantic pina colada in this gigantic insulated cup, real strong, put on my hat and glasses, and got the phone. And I realized quickly the official Twitch app was disconnecting a whole lot. So I switched to a different app, which wouldn't show me chat while I was streaming. So I was streaming blind, talking to the stream, not knowing who was watching or if it was even still connected. Walked down the beach, a little too drunk. Shouldn't have been that drunk. With the selfie stick of my phone. Burned to the bottoms of my feet real bad. Didn't realize at the time.
Oh no.
Sure some people had some fun laughing at my bloopers. That beach walk.
So it still sounds pretty. I mean, I've been streaming for less than a year and I've done worse. So it speaks well of both of you that you.
Well, like what? Do you have an example?
I once badly wired my Ableton setup, and the signal was coming all broken all the way. And I was like that for half an hour, and someone said to me, "This is a really nice noise music you're making." I'm not making noise. I'm making techno. Why?
Oh shit! Man, I've definitely done a stream where. So I almost never wear headphones now. I'm starting to do it a little bit more, but usually I'm coming through the monitors. I used to do all headphones, and there was a stream where I just had webcam audio, so all you heard was me clicking on a keyboard.
That's beautiful.
For probably an hour.
That's beautiful.
Horrible.
That's beautiful, and it comes to show you the degree of variety there's on Twitch, because no one sees that as something that shouldn't happen. It's like, oh yeah, he's doing a performance. That's acceptable.
Right. Yeah. Ugh.
What's the weirdest thing you have seen on Twitch?
I've seen some really weird stuff.
Okay.
One of the weirdest ones that I saw was before I started streaming. This is like 2018, and it was like legit someone like trying to set up something totally against terms of service. It was essentially a torture stream
Oh
where
no.
someone was taped down to like a bench press, and they had like their girlfriend or someone like, all right, here's the menu of all the things we'll do to him if you donate or put in bits. And it was like there's water dripping on his forehead for like some water torture thing. It's like, for $5 we'll put tuna water juice and the water dripping on it. For $10 we'll put mayonnaise on his face. For this much I'll put a 9-volt to his tongue.
Oh no.
That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Far away.
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all. It speaks it's a very literal representation of what twitching mostly is about.
I'm usually more about the weird, creative, fun stuff, but that was the weirdest. It was not a very fun. But yeah.
And they are now billionaires, and they own their. No. How are you, Aaron? Have you seen any weird things?
I have not seen anything like that. The things that anything weird that I've seen on Twitch is the same weird shit I've seen on YouTube, like mukbang stuff. Just like that stuff that's never made sense to me, like being surrounded with food that you only eat like 5% of really messily.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I haven't seen that much crazy shit. I stay I stay off of here as a viewer. I don't watch too much stuff on here.
Speaking of the other side of the spectrum, if you were to recommend some streamers that are active right now, besides yourselves, and that are very enjoyable to watch, preferably music, but it can be something else, who would you recommend?
I think that Austin and I have the same recommendation. At least one of them would be the Graceful Bard is a must. Let's see.
I think we both also recommend P-Chops.
P-Chops, absolutely. Wow. I'm totally blanking right now.
It can be someone that...
Pendleton Ward live streams. That's someone you guys should check out. If you don't know, the creator of Adventure Time does live stream drawing and chatting with people for fun. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Did not know
When you
that.
pop in there, you might hear Aaron's music or my music in his stream.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
In the guy's stream, he uses your music. And how does that work? He contacted you, or how?
He's just a fan. We all met through Twitch. It's really sweet, and he plays music in the back while drawing. I have no problem with him playing that. I've let him know and sent him stuff.
Nice. And many people have used your visuals, OpenSet. I can think at least of 2 people. Do you know how many people use them?
As far as people that I know of that use them, I know of at least, I'd say 25 people that use the visuals. Perhaps more. A lot of people that hang out in my stream and use that type of stuff never chat. Sometimes people will contact me, they've been using something, and it's the first time they've said anything in chat or in Discord in 3 years. So, a lot of shy types in there, but I really don't know how many people, but at least 25 people have told me that they use it, or I've seen them use it.
How do you feel about that?
It is the intention. When I get into doing daytime streaming, where I'm not so focused on the music and I'm more focused on science, art, chatting, that type of thing. Basically, late night, I'm focused on more building a vibe, music, that type of thing. Daytime, I've got active teacher brain, and I needed motivation that would keep me doing things that weren't just repetitive, like, oh, I'm going to look at another sample of this plant or whatever. My motivator became, I'm going to make visuals to put out there in the world for other people to use. And as people make suggestions, hopefully stumble upon new ways to make interesting or beautiful things. And it worked as a good motivator for about a year. I need to get back to doing daytime streams and bring that back as some of my motivator, but I always feel like I need to be streaming with a purpose in mind. And for the daytime stuff, it was usually to try to make things for other people to use.
Nice. How would someone get your visuals if they wanted to get them?
I just upload all those videos to Discord. I have whatever the Discord premium account is, so I can upload like 200 megabyte video files in the Discord, and I just have a long log in my Discord. It's called Scope Media.
I did not know that.
Do you guys want to? Sorry. Please continue.
Oh, so yeah, I was going to say people usually get it out of there, or some people contact me and get custom stuff made, or they want something that's not necessarily custom for them, but unique to them, so the thing they use in their project won't show up in someone else's project, which I do that for a lot of people.
Would you guys like to plug something? If you got Discord communities, you can send me the link if you want to share that in the chat, or if you have upcoming streams, we can also talk about that.
I don't have anything necessarily to plug. I guess my Discord channel is the best place to get alerts when I go live. Probably more reliable than Twitch alerts. I don't really know, but I do send out a notification only when I go live. And I'm working on making a little bit more YouTube content, and that is available on my like all the links are able to be found on my Twitch page. And there's also for people who are looking for because I am struggling with creating content from my live streams, as in making music to then release on platforms. So what I have been doing for people who want to be able to listen to that stuff, it's on Patreon. You can get there for $1 and have all of my past live streams in their entirety, though. So they're unedited, but $1 is the lowest I was able to set up there. But that's where it's basically like an archive of the audio of my streams.
Nice. We also have soundcloud.com/Layson. Your mod has forwarded me that. I'll put it in the chat. How about you, OpenSet? What can we talk about you? Where can we get
I
more
just
of
sent you
you?
the link to the Discord invite that will guide anyone that does want to scroll through there and download any microscope media stuff. There's a large variety of microscope files through there, going back for like 2 years or so.
Can you send me that link?
I just did on Discord.
Oh, okay. Can you, because I'm in another computer, can you send it to the GSG Twitch account, please?
Okay, let me see. Whisper, search for golden truth.
Because I'm on 2 computers, because today we're doing an experiment. I'm actually playing after this interview. So,
Nice.
yeah, we'll see how nice that is in an hour.
Just whisper that, yeah.
Thanks, received.
Oh yeah, thank you, Lem. On Bandcamp as well, you can find aarongoldberg.bandcamp.com is where all my actual releases are.
Okay, if you want to forward that to me, this is the moment.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't do too much promotion of any of these types of things. Largely, my Twitch is for me to go on and have fun. But one thing that I will promote is if school is starting, if anybody feels like they're in dire trouble in advanced mathematics, I offer free help in mathematics for people. That is my main thing. And I know
That's
math
nice.
is one of the key reasons for people to drop out of college.
Is that so?
Yes. A lot of like engineering programs and all that have like 50% dropout rates, usually about the time someone hits Calc 2, Calc 3.
Oh, wow. I did not know this. Well, while Aaron, I don't know why he disappeared, but we're about to finish the transmission. I want to thank you both. I hope Aaron is listening. If not, oh, he sent me a message. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I that was
I
a
just like
possibility.
disappeared from my chair. I got abducted.
Yeah, no, you just get offended by the plugin question. Like, I'm not a product. I'm not settled. I will. Okay, let me put that in there. There we go. So, guys, I want to thank you both for being here. And let's close this with try to make a short answer. Well, I'm playing after this, so it doesn't matter if it's long. But if you had to give an advice to someone that's starting or to someone that's has a very small community and is trying to have a better time on streaming, what would you say to them?
I would say make sure you're doing it because it's fun. Make sure that what you're doing is fun, because then it can be sustainable. Otherwise, you're going to burn out, and that's not really fun for anybody. So just make sure you're enjoying yourself. You'll be able to do that for a longer period of time. And by doing that consistently, you will find your community growing and your enjoyment going up.
Nice, nice. How are you, Vincent?
Yeah, I would say the big key is kind of being there in the present, thinking about what you're doing right now, enjoying what you're doing right now with the people that are there right now, and not focusing on trying to do things that'll make the stream go viral or trying to self-promote a lot of places, because it's best to try to build those genuine connections with people, because what's the phrase? People always remember the way you made them feel. And you want to be genuine with people, at least when you're doing stuff on the platform for adults. It's a different consideration. People are doing things on the platform for kids and teenagers. Then you might be putting on more of a wild performance. Oh, I got to do this crazy thing. But yeah, be in the moment, enjoy what you're doing right now, enjoying the people you're there with, because I don't know, people are anything like me. They got a pretty strong bullshit detector around Twitch, especially if you've been watching for much time, and you want to be genuine with people.
Nice. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you once again. Thanks you for being here, for spending a little time with us. We're gonna rate myself, so I'm gonna get ready for that. We usually do an after talk, but I won't be able to do it today. So I want to personally thank you, Aaron and OpenSet, for being here. And I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I just want to say thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
My
Thank you for letting me
pleasure.
be part of it.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on. I'll add that wildlife needs you.
True.
Me in particular, or?
Yes, you in particular.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Okay. Bye, everybody. See you next week. I'll see you on the other side.
Peace.